guys, I'm Michael from eKids. And now we are studying the Old Testament. And I'm really excited about it because, Jesus in the New Testament, when he was asked, what's the most important thing about the Old Testament? This is what he said. He quoted something from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5. And it says this.
Wait. Hold on.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5.
I get it.
It says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might." Let me read it again. "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and all your soul, and with all your might." So what I want you to do as you watch this video is see if these characters in the story, see if they loved God with all of their heart, all of their soul, and all of their strength.
Okay, I can do that.
So check it out.
Chapter 3. Sometime later, King Xerxes promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, to prime minister, making him the most powerful official in the empire next to the king himself. All the king's officials would bow down before Haman to show him respect whenever he passed by, for so the king had commanded. But Mordecai refused to bow down or show him respect. Then the palace officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai,
"Why are you disobeying the king's command?"
They spoke to him day after day, but still he refused to comply with the order. So they spoke to Haman about this to see if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct, since Mordecai had told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not bow down or show him respect, he was filled with rage. So he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Since he had learned that Mordecai was a Jew, he decided to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes. So in the month of April, during the 12th year of King Xerxes' reign, lots were cast, the lots were called Purim, to determine the best day and month to take action. And the day selected was March 7th, nearly a year later. Then Haman approached King Xerxes and said,
"There is a certain race of people scattered through all the provinces of your empire. Their laws are different from those of any other nation, and they refuse to obey even the laws of the king. So it is not in the king's interest to let them live. If it please your majesty, issue a decree that they be destroyed, and I will give 375 tons of silver to the government administrators so they can put it into the royal treasury."
The king agreed, confirming his decision by removing his signet ring from his finger and giving it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews.
"Keep the money,"
the king told Haman.
"but go ahead and do as you like with these people."
On April 17th, Haman called in the king's secretaries and dictated letters to the princes, the governors of the respective provinces, and the local officials of each province in their own scripts and languages. These letters were signed in the name of King Xerxes, sealed with his ring, and sent by messengers into all the provinces of the empire. The letters decreed that all Jews, young and old, including women and children, must be killed, slaughtered, and annihilated on a single day. This was scheduled to happen nearly a year later, on March 7th. The property of the Jews would be given to those who killed them. A copy of this decree was to be issued in every province and made known to all the people, so that they would be ready to do their duty on the appointed day. At the king's command, the decree went out by the swiftest messengers, and it was proclaimed in the fortress of Susa. Then the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa fell into confusion. Chapter 4. When Mordecai learned what had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, crying with a loud and bitter wail. He stood outside the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter while wearing clothes of mourning. And as news of the king's decree reached all the provinces, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the sackcloth, but he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story and told him how much money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all Jews. and he asked Hathach to show it to Esther. He also asked Hathach to explain it to her, and to urge her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hathach to go back and relay this message to Mordecai.
The whole world knows that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him in more than a month.
So Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai sent back this reply to Esther.
Don't think for a moment that you will escape there in the palace when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. What's more, who can say but that you have been elevated to the palace for just such a time as this?
Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai.
Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I am willing to die.
So Mordecai went away and did as Esther told him. Chapter 5. 3 days later, Esther put on her royal robes and entered the inner court of the palace, just across from the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing there in the inner court, he welcomed her, holding out the gold scepter to her. So Esther approached and touched its tip. Then the king asked her,
What do you want, Queen Esther? What is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom.
And Esther replied,
If it please your majesty, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for the king.
The king turned to his attendant and said,
Tell Haman to come quickly to a banquet, as Esther has requested.
So the king and Haman went to Esther's banquet. And while they were drinking wine, the king said to Esther,
Now tell me what you really want. What is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom.
Esther replied,
This is my request and deepest wish. If your majesty is pleased with me and wants to grant my request, please come with Haman tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for you. Then, tomorrow I will explain what this is all about.
After some time, when Haman, one of the most powerful men and closest friends of King Xerxes, realized that Mordecai didn't bow down before him and said he was a Jew, he planned to destroy the entire people of Israel. When Esther realized this, and that the king had given Haman the freedom to do whatever he wanted, she proclaimed a 3-day fast for all the people, so that they could seek the presence of God in prayer and find favor before King Xerxes. After 3 days, Esther came before the king. Still astounded by her beauty, he asked, What do you want me to do for you, Esther?
So, what did you think? Wow! Did these characters really show that they loved God with all of their heart?
Yep.
All their soul?
Yep.
And all of their strength?
Yep.
What do you think? And you know, just as importantly, what about you? What can you learn from these characters to see how you can love God with all of your heart, all of your mind, all of your soul, all of your strength?
That's a good point.
How can you love God with everything you have? All right, guys, that's all I have for you this week. Love you. Bye.
See ya.
You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your might.